You have the paleo-anthropologists agreed on the pathway from ape to man in terms of the different ones. Is there an agreement?
Not yet. I mean,
why
there's
not?
Wide dispute. I mean, for one, they have only a few fossil finds.
All right, that's important for people to understand, is that when we're talking about the evidence is very slim. How slim?
Well, if you took all the bones, excepting humans and Neanderthals, and put them into one space, it would fill a reasonably sized closet. So we're talking a closet full of bones. In most cases, you've got just tiny pieces of a specimen. The most complete are like 35 to 40%. I think there's only 2 cases that are that complete. And so anthropologists can't agree what the pathways would be because there's a lot that's missing.
All right, if you can't agree on the pathway, in other words, you can't agree which one came first, how can they say that evolution is a fact?
Well, they really can't, and I would argue, moreover, this very sparse database tells us that the population levels of the different species must have been quite low, and we know the time that they existed was relatively brief. Those are 2 prescriptions against any naturalistic evolutionary pathway.
All right, now let's go to the evidence that shows, even though that's the proposed theory, the scientists are running into big-time blockades. In fact, they've been cut off, if you want, in their path from ape to man. And let's talk about some of the evidence that's cut them off. One has been the brain size. When they have measured the brain size of these ape-like creatures with man, before they had a kind of an old-fashioned way of measuring. Talk about that way of measuring and then what's happened in just the past few years.
Sure. Well, the old approach would be primarily to have partially deformed, partially missing skulls, and from physical features try to make measurements and then infer brain size through the use of some model, which never would have been fully validated. And a few years ago, a new approach was attempted, and this is essentially to do CAT scan imaging and generate millimeter slices of the brain, and then through computer graphics technology to fill in the missing parts, to correct deformations, and then to calculate brain volume and brain size.
And what did they find out? What was the conclusion?
The volumes were overestimated. So instead of having this gradual increase in brain size, it seems like as if the brain size from Australopithecines to modern humans would have had to ramp very rapidly towards the appearance of modern humans. So instead of a gradual trend, it was more a discontinuous trend where you have significant leaps, but the final leap in brain size was quite dramatic, was modern humans appear on
Dramatic and recent.
Yeah. Hugh, what do you do in terms of these ape-like creatures from a biblical point of view? Where do they fit into the creation scenario?
Well, the thing you see in the Bible is that birds and mammals are closely related to humans. And what the biologists tell us is that half the land mammals have gone extinct since human beings shown up on the scene. Half the bird species have gone extinct. We've had a huge deleterious effect on the birds and mammals on this planet. God, knowing that in advance, I think would be wise enough to create a few species of bipedal primates, each more progressively capable in hunting birds and mammals as a way to help these birds and mammals adapt to the coming future shock of these super intelligent.
Another way of saying it is you're saying God created some very distinct animals.
Right.
And the
For a
fact is they
purpose.
are there, but they weren't men.
They weren't men.